So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome once again to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And, thank you so much for joining me again for a second podcast of the day. Aston Villa have been linked with another player, and I wanted to come and do this scouting series. This is a pre-recorded scouting series as well. So if you are commenting, please get engaged in the comments below. That's absolutely fine. I will listen back. I will look back at them, try and answer any comments that you do have there with regards to this player. But Villa have been linked with another player yesterday, and they were, the allegation was made, I suppose, that Villa had two bids rejected for this player, and his name is Michael Murillo. Michael Murillo Bermudez, actually, to give him his full title. Panamanian, right back / right centre back / defensive midfielder / right midfielder from Marseille, and he was interesting, very interesting, because I did a piece on the Lance midfielder Villa were linked to it. I've also done a piece on Ligue 1 goalkeepers that Villa potentially could be linked to it, and obviously Lucas Chevalier was one of those guys. And I watched Marseille in a lot of games when I was watching goalkeepers. I was watching the Lance midfielder as well, and so it was easy for me then to pivot over and to watch this guy. Couple of things with him first, I suppose. The biggest thing with this guy that's going to rub people up the wrong way is he is 29, and he will be. He's just gone 29, so he's not exactly on the younger scale of things. And people will hold that against him, and that's fine. But I'm of the opinion, I suppose, that, look, PSR is a very real thing. Strengthening the squad is a very real thing. And we got to get used to the fact that a lot of players that come in will only have 2-year, maybe 3-year shelf lives with us anyway. So I think getting also, I suppose, getting some experience into this team is not a bad thing, specifically in the right back position. Because let's say, for want of speculation, that Matty Cash leaves. Just rumoured interest from Serie A with Matty Cash. Let's say we sell Matty Cash to Serie A. We get his wages off the book, and we bring somebody in like Michael Murillo into the team to play it right back. I think it would be smart enough to have somebody that's on the older side. Now, maybe some of you guys might disagree and say that 29 is too old. That's fine. I can completely listen to that argument. But if we do think that Andres Garcia is going to be as good as he's going to be, and let's be honest, he's shown to be somebody that's very exciting in his limited starts for Aston Villa so far. I think it was 7 games he played last year. Do you really want to be bringing in somebody that's 24, 25, 26 as well then to compete with him for the place? Yes is the answer. I know that a lot of you guys will say, but I think it's smart to bring in somebody that's a small bit older, and that can have that presence of mind, that experience as well. Michael Murillo, as I mentioned, he's Panamanian. He's come through the New York Red Bulls. It was he played quite a few years for those in the MLS. Moved from there then to Anderlecht in Belgium, and then from Anderlecht to Marseille. And he's been with Marseille for the last 2 years. So he signed for them in August 2023, and he's basically become a regular for them. He's become a regular for Marseille at right back. Very athletic player. He is pretty attack minded, and what I say about that is he's attack minded, I suppose, because he plays an awful lot of the ball. Like, he's very comfortable with the ball at his feet in build up play, like supremely confident. And we'll see this in a moment. Like, he's had, I can't remember how many touches off the top of my head, but I think it was close to 80 touches per game. And he's like 70 passes per game with a massive pass completion statistic. Now, a lot of those passes are short passes, but they're releasing passes, if that makes sense. So when I say that he's an attack-minded right back, when he has the ball, he wants to pass it forward, or he wants to pass it to a player who can run forward with the ball. So he's got that bit of cuteness in his game. He's Central American, he's going to have that bit of flair with him. He's going to have that ability to play with the ball at his feet. He's also pretty reliable in defence, and I suppose pretty reliable is doing him a disservice. He's 6 foot. He's very good in the air, really, really good in the air. Like his statistics are backed up by what you see on the field. Like he's a 71.2% aerial win rate, and you see that on the field. If that ball is crossed diagonally, he will not lose that ball. I won't say that he won't lose the ball in the air, but the person that's jumping with him will not win that ball in the air. He's really, really good there. He's also really good at tackling defenders on the run. Attackers on the run, defending players on the run, should I say. And what's really good about him is when he commits to a tackle, he rarely loses it. So that's an interesting piece with him, and it's something that you actually see. So 4 games I watched, and this guy I wrote them down here. I watched him against Lille, I watched him against Lens, watched him against Le Havre, and I watched him against Rennes. So I think a nice little cross section. Once again, they were all at the back end of the season. I would love to watch more games of him in the first part of the season, but I'm coming with, I suppose, all these games were in the last, I'd say, 6 to 8 weeks that of the season. So he's also pretty adaptable because of what I mentioned there. He's got a good build. He's an athletic guy, 6 foot, decent with the ball at his feet, more than decent with the ball at his feet, and a really strong, robust type player. He's going to go to ground. He's going to tackle you. He's not really going to be one that's going to get in there with blocks and interceptions. But then again, fullbacks don't do that anyway. He's really good at tackling a player running with the ball. He has been utilised in defensive midfield very sparingly. He's been utilised as a right midfielder, more so for Panama. But one of the real interesting things I found for him is that Marseille utilised him as a centre half, or as part of a back three, or as tucking in to be a back three in transition. And that happened 18 out of the 32 starts that he made this season. So of his 32 starts, only 14 of them for the full 90 minutes did he consistently and truly play as a right back. So here we go. You've got experience. You've got somebody who's athletically decent, well, better than athletically decent. And athletically, he's built like a brick shithouse, to be honest with you. And he's able to play with the ball at his feet, and he's able to tuck in as well from that right back position to make that back three. Now, where have I heard that before to do with Unai Emery? Yeah, I think it ticks a lot of boxes as to what Unai Emery wants to do or is looking to do with these fullbacks. And it's not a surprise. Villa are going to need to bring in specifically if Matty Cash goes, Villa are going to need to bring in a right back. It's just not even up for debate that they're going to need to bring in a right back. We don't want For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast official stance is we are not pro Ezri Konsa right back just because Ezri Konsa is too good in central defense. So we want somebody who can go there. I don't think the club are going to pay the money that Chelsea want for Axel Disasi. I don't even know how much it is, to be honest, which I would imagine be around 30 million, in and around that. Villa apparently have been quoted 25 million euros for Murillo, which I don't think they're going to pay that amount. But let's keep an eye on that. I don't know how true that valuation is. I don't even know how true the 2 bids have been previously. But I think Unai Emery is going to once again expedite that right back position. And I think it's so important, and I'll tell you why it's so important, that we have signed Kostan Jelkovic to play right back. We signed, and he likely will be leaving the club. In fact, I think it was actually announced he's going to leave the club for RB Leipzig on a permanent transfer of 15 million euros, which is probably PSR related. He's signed Andres Garcia. He's signed Axel Disasi on loan. He's played Lamar Bogart there. In his time, and he's played Ezra Konsa there. In his time, he's tried to get 5 different pieces into that right back position. I didn't even mention Matty Cash there, so that's 6 different pieces into that right back position. So he obviously sees it as a place that he's not fully 100% happy with, or he just feels he isn't getting everything he needs from that, and he needs to have a very specific fit in there. We saw that at Villarreal as well. Playing one fight out there. That's when they played their best football. The security blanket that gave them. So I'm not just pigeonholing him into wanting that right back that can tuck into centre back. But until I see more, as I said before, I'm an evidence-based person. Until I see more that he isn't going to target these players, that he doesn't want our fullbacks to be able to do that, to tuck in, to be a lot more narrower in defence. You know, we're probably going to see more and more right backs be linked with Aston Villa. Do I expect this guy to sign? I don't know, but we'll get into that later. So I'm going to bring up some of his of his statistics here. I'll just pop these statistics up on the screen. First of all, I want to show you his heat map. Look at that for a heat map. I told you he was athletic. He goes everywhere on that side. Everywhere. He is like a blanket on that right-hand side. He can get around that field and get around that right-hand side. It's incredible. The amount of the work rate that this guy has in moving around that right hand side, and the heat map does not lie. Look how far inside he comes, and look how far up the field he gets as well. No, he's not a byline player at all. One of the big things I did see, and that was the game against Le Havre, I think it was, crossing from deep. Think of those Ahmed al-Mohammadi type crosses that if you guys are listening to the podcast that long, we used to rave about those Ahmed al-Mohammadi crosses that would be crossed from deep into the penalty area that would cause consternation. He has that in his locker for certain. He really, really does. One of the biggest things that I think he's one of the traits, once again, talking about intangibles for players like we did for the launch midfielder as well. I once again reached out to my French scouting mate, and one of the biggest things he said that he's found from speaking to people at Marseille is that this guy upstairs is absolute granite in the mentality area. You know, he is rock solid, and he's very resilient mentally from the point of view of he worked his ass off to get the Red Bulls, to New York Red Bulls first of all, and then he set his sights on European football, and then he broke his back to get into European football, took an opportunity at Anderlecht to the Belgian Pro League, and then decided that he needed to move on and wanted to play at a higher grade. So he mapped out his career by his hard work, and mentally he was the person who drove his career, if that makes sense. And at 29 years of age, he's playing with Marseille in a really good league, playing in European competition, and potentially could be moving on to the Premier League with Aston Villa. So I think that's once again an intangible that's worth bringing up. He's very good at overlapping runs. So once again, I talked about his ability to be able to tuck in when the attack is going on the right hand side. He can overlap on those runs, but you know his crossing style, as I said before, is that think back to kind of an older style fullback, a Gary Neville type, whereby you know they overlap, but they don't go too far, and their crosses are usually from a small bit deeper. He's an accurate crosser of the ball as well, which is something that I think is worth highlighting too. He's very stable in defence, as I mentioned. I'm just reading some of my notes here. Very, very stable in defence, a very reliable one-on-one defender, very good from a positional awareness point of view. He has an incredible incredible percentage, as you can see there, of dribblers tackled and wins balls in the air. So all that stuff is very, very good to see. And it's areas where I think that we can improve on as a team. You know, aerial contributions is something throughout the whole team that I think we need to improve on as well. I mentioned his versatility earlier on. Can play as right back, centre back, right midfielder. For Panama, he more or less plays as a wing back slash right midfielder as well, which is really interesting. You know, he is somebody that's trying to drive on Panamanian football currently, and he's very proud of his Panamanian background, as you would expect him to be. Physically, as I said in another piece I've written down here, he's really, really big. He's a big, strong boy in that aspect. His work rate and his discipline is fantastic too. And you know, he brings an experience level with him. I think he's touching 80 caps, I think, for Panama at the moment. He's played in 4 different leagues. And he's played in the World Cup. He's played on big occasions, and he's progressed and been able to meet the moment when he's moved from league to league to league. so far in his career, and it would be interesting to see what he does when he comes to the Premier League. Because looking at him in the French league, he shows that physical dominance there, and he shows the ability, the technical ability, and the defensive positioning ability to be able to play at the highest level of football, I think. And he's obviously playing there at the moment with Marseille, and then week in, week out, maybe potentially playing in the Premier League would be something that would be interesting to see from him as well. Some weaknesses of his game. I mentioned that he's good with the ball at his feet, but he's definitely no Andres Garcia with that fleet of foot that you would see from him. He's not a speed merchant. He's fast, but he's not insanely quick like Andres Garcia is as well. From a defensive point of view, that game against Le Havre was eye-opening, I think, because there was a left winger, Samaria, that was playing there. And what Samaria did was he tried to take him on physically, and you could see that Murillo got a bit frustrated with him when he did that. Like, he's much prefers, when he's playing in that right back situation, he much prefers people coming at him than having to fend people off and hold people off. Now he's fine at it, but you could feel, I got the sense during the game that he got a bit ratty with this guy. He started to kind of kick him up and down a small little bit. I can't remember, did he get a yellow card in the game, but there were a couple of times where you could see that he was kind of going, okay, right, I've had enough of this. I'm going to leave a small little bit on you. That might be a positive to some people. And you know what? I don't dislike stuff like that. I don't dislike that that type of mentality in a player. But it felt like this guy kind of got under his skin. And I'd be interested to see that. Once again, it's only a 1-game sample set, but it's something that I wrote down here as well. Again, with regards to the weaknesses, when you only watch 4 games, it's very difficult to come up with concrete weaknesses. I suppose one other little piece from him as well is that, even though his heat map shows that he gets up and down that wing, the game against Lille or Rennes, it was a team in a red jersey. I'm going to say it was Lille. I'm not certain it was Lille, actually. What he did was, as the left back, if balls were played, were overhit towards him, and they were running out towards the end line, the goal kick line, let's call it. He kind of got sucked in by the left back in trying to chase those all the way down. Like, it was a completely and utterly lost cause. The ball was going to go out of play, and he tried to chase those down. And I know, look, once again, his work rate is one of his best assets. He tried to chase those down, tried to win that ball up further up the field. And yes, it looks good in that moment, and it looks brilliant from a work rate point of view, but it was kind of a hiding to nothing. And he did vacate the space. And twice in that game when he did that, it was like as if the left back kind of suckered him in, and the left back was able to get, I won't say muscle him out, but was able to manipulate the ball around him by passing it to other players and stuff like that. And it did leave a bit of a gap at the back. Now, it wasn't exploited or anything like that, but I found it very interesting how eager he was to chase down this absolute lost cause when the probability of anything coming from it was very, very, very small. It just something stood out to me. Once again, I don't know if that's a limitation of his game, but it's just something, when we talk about, it's a lot easier when you're looking at a small sample set to spot highlights and positive points, unless the weaknesses are absolutely glaring. You need, I always find this, it's probably a limitation of my ability to scope players, I need to have a big sample set to be able to be confident of a weakness. But that was something that I saw, and I'd like to watch more on him to see if that is a feature of his game as opposed to just a bug within this particular match itself. What I like about this is, what I really like about him is that he began to thrive under De Zerbi this year, specifically in a 4-2-3-1 and in a 4-3-3 setup as well. That's what De Zerbi plays. So coming into Aston Villa, from a setup point of view, he's absolutely steeped in that, and he would fit into that to that formation really, really well. His overlapping ability, his crossing ability, and so on. It would be interesting to see him. It would also potentially allow us not to have to maybe, if we are going to have an overlapping player there, do we need to have a winger that's going to take on defenders on that side of the ball? Maybe it allows us to move Morgan Rogers into a position where he's better suited. A lot of you guys feel that he's not suited to the right. I think the jury is out on whether he's suited to the right or not. But maybe having that a more proper, more overlapping fullback might allow him to open up his bag of tricks a small bit more. Maybe it allows him to go inside. Maybe allows Morgan Rogers to carry that ball forward if we are going to persist on playing him on the right. And I'm not saying that we should, but potentially if that's in the mindset of Unai Emery, that could be something as well to look at. So look, I suppose realistically with this guy, a lot of the knocks on him are going to be age related, maybe value related. I know Transfer Market have him in there at 9 million. Rumours have it that Marseille are looking for about 25 million for him. For me, what it would all boil down to is, again, as we're going to need to get used to the idea of Aston Villa are going to bring in players that will only have a year, 2 years of a shelf life with us. I know a lot of people will start talking about resale value, but resale value is, you can't always get massive profit on absolutely everybody. And I think you've got to look at what functionally does this do for us in the next 2 years while we're nurturing an Andres Garcia in that position as well. So don't be surprised. And Unai Emery has this. Traditionally, Unai Emery brings one or two older players in to set a tone within the team. And potentially this is one of those guys. Think of his time at Sevilla. Think of his time at Villarreal. Villarreal, he brings in Danny Parejo as well in there, and he had Ruben Albiol in there too. Guys that were well over 30 years of age and came in and played absolutely sparkling football. Vincent de Bora as well was somebody else that he brought in at an older age to play absolutely super football for him. For his team. So he does like to, he's not afraid to bring in an older player, get the most out of them for 2 or 3 years, and mark that into a win in the win column, because of the fact that, look, if you can bring that mentality, if you can bring that older player's mentality, you can bring their work rate, you can bring their leadership value into this team, well, then that's a positive in itself. And sometimes it isn't always value in this stupid PSR world that we live in. Sometimes you have to overlook that PSR value and see where the team chemistry, the team morale comes in there as well. Ideally, I'd like if this guy was 26, 27 years of age, I would be like, drop the 25 million on him, no bother. But as I say, I am myself conscious of the fact that he is 29. But like 29 isn't a game changer for me. It really isn't. If Unai Emery wanted this guy, if he was 32 or 33, maybe we'd be thinking like you want your head screwed on for 25 million, number one, I suppose. But this guy still has a lot of tread on the tires and a lot of miles still left to give. If he was somebody that Unai Emery wanted, I don't think the 29 years of age or 29-year age would be a hindrance for me. At all, and to be honest with you, I don't think Unai Emery would give it one blind bit of difference. If he likes the player, he's going to sign him regardless of age as well. Once again, going to be somebody definitely from a leadership point of view, definitely from a versatility point of view, and I think he will be a valuable asset from the point of view that he can play centre half. Limited centre half minutes, but he can play centre half, he can play right back, he can play right midfield, and once again has played limited minutes in central midfield as well. So I'm going to leave it on that, guys. As I say, I wanted to chat about him because I do think right back might be an area that we do look at a small bit more over the course of the off season as well, and there will be opportunity cost in that area, specifically if the rumours of Matty Cash leaving are true. But I hope you enjoyed this and hope that it is to your fancy. If you did like it, please subscribe below, drop this video a like. We'll be coming with lots more scouting series over the course of the off season as well. And join us later on today at 5:15 for a live podcast that we'll be doing with Josh Norris and our Loan Keeper Sell type podcast, or just a squad review of 2024-2025. And we'd love to have you along for that as well. But hope you like this. That's our podcast. I'm Michael Murillo. We will be back with more. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the